Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Speak and Grow Rich podcast. Today, we have a very special VIP with Sarah Fontenot. She is an international speaker, an author, an incredible speaker. You're going to hear her today. Not only that, she's an actress and she has a podcast, several podcasts. And we had the pleasure of meeting about a year ago. And one of the favorite things that when I met you, I said, okay, so what do you do? And you're like, you know what? I just specialize in being myself. And I was like, so you're like, that's what I'm most proud of. What I've worked for is my beingness. And that is what we are. So welcome, Sarah, to the show. Tell us how you got into speaking.
Hi. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Amanda, for having me on the show. I love what you're doing. I love the information that you're providing and how you're helping people really find themselves and also inside of their career. So it's really cool when you can do the double whammy. I see you, I acknowledge you, and I appreciate all of the things that you're doing. But I actually slipped and fell into speaking, to be honest. I am a small town girl. I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And I never knew a speaker, like I didn't think that speaker was an option, entrepreneur was an option. I thought that the only ways to be successful was doctor, lawyer, engineer, or entertainment. And so I knew I didn't want to be a doctor because blood makes me queasy. I'm like, ooh, I have the weakest stomach in the history of all stomachs. I didn't want to be an engineer because my mom is an engineer. And then I was like, well, maybe I could be a lawyer, but I counted the costs. And what I mean by that is I looked at what did it take to be a lawyer, not actually the money that it would cost for school, because I don't come from rich. I came from a lot of love, but it was also poverty, right? And so it wasn't necessarily the cost inside of money. It was the cost inside of what did I have to do to become this thing? And so I'm not interested in learning things I'm not interested about. So, so I was like, I don't want to learn about rules and regulations and codes. Like that just wasn't my thing. So I was like, nope, lawyers out. And then I love to act, sing, and dance. So I was like, entertainment. So I
Yes.
actually picked up and moved to Los Angeles, California by myself when I was 20 years old to pursue acting. So I am a cliche. And I'm grateful because I got into a conservatory there and I graduated from that conservatory and I've done a lot of really cool things. But it was inside of that where I actually slipped and fell into my first endeavor, which was multi-level marketing. And I built to the top 1% of the company. But the craziest part was inside of that experience, what I didn't realize was at the time, when you start anything, you're new. We're not great at it. We're trying to find our footing. We're not making all of the money. We're not buying all of the things. It's literally, for me personally, it was a struggle, right? I always say I'm very transparent, Amanda. I'm sure you've seen or heard, but I was the girl that was digging in the couch trying to find $3 to put on pump 5, right? I was literally the girl calling my mom every month saying, can you please help me pay my rent? So two things. Number one, it doesn't matter where you start, but number two, are you willing to see yourself outside of your circumstance and your situation? And so even though I was struggling in those times, I knew that I was not going to allow my circumstance or my situation to define who I saw that I could possibly be. And so I would show up powerfully in the world, but I'd be crying myself to sleep at night. It was like this duality of like, you can have two truths, that everything can be true at once. Yes, I want to be successful, but also it was a challenge for me. And so people would constantly say when I would show up, they'd be like, wow, how are you so strong? And I'm like, in my mind, I was like, I'm not. What are we talking about? Like, I cry myself to sleep at night. Y'all just don't know. And so I started doing reflection. And I would say for those of you that are learning or excited about becoming a speaker, people ask you, like people notice your gifts. So what are people saying about you? So I started to do that self-reflection. Well, people are saying that I'm so strong. I'm not, but why is it that I show up this way? What are the actionable steps that I'm taking? What are the tangible things that I can give away? And so I started speaking and learning through really vetting myself, studying the greats. I am an avid reader, and I learn and I take what works for me, and I slipped and fell into it, but I found that I love seeing the transformation that comes from speaking to a large group of people, and spoken to rooms of 20 and I've spoken to a room of 30,000, so it's
Wow.
literally just wherever the hemisphere is, I'm going to show up. Like all I need is one. If I can change one
Yes.
life, it's not about the size, it's about the impact, it's about the result.
Yes. So did your studying of entertainment, did that support you in becoming a fluential speaker?
Probably, but also, that's such a great question. Probably, as I feel like everything adds, right? Our struggle adds to it. Our
Right.
choices and jobs have added to it. I actually think about, pardon me, being a server back in the day before I moved to America. I had 3 jobs. I worked
Mhm.
at SGI, which is Saskatchewan Government Insurance. I would travel around the province and teach kids about traffic safety and show parents how to correctly install their car seats. That's a teaching role, right? It's a
Yeah.
leadership role. I think about how I was a server at 2 different restaurants.
Mhm.
And so, literally, all at the same time, it was team no sleep. I was trying to raise up as much money as I could to move to a new country. And
Right.
so, and so I learned inside of serving how to turn a frown upside down, how to really
Mhm.
listen to people. Because sometimes people come in and it's like some people just have like a meaner demeanor, or they
Right.
have like an angry demeanor. And it's like, no, not today, not with me. So it,
Yeah.
it taught me how to deal with people, how to have that servant intentionality, of how can I serve you?
Yes.
How can I make you feel better today while we're in this experience together? And then I think acting really, just more than anything, I think acting really taught me how to overcome like rejection,
Ooh,
because
yes.
acting is like, we are everything changed for me.
That's amazing. I love it. Okay. So I actually was also a waitress and I loved waitressing and it was
Yeah.
so fun. And I
Yeah.
also, I studied to take the LSAT. In fact, I did take the LSAT to get into law school and I said, nope, this is not for me. But one of
Yeah.
the things,
No.
no, all that studying and then you have to fight for a living, right? You're constantly
Yes.
fighting. So, but one of the things I love about you is you have that ability to really connect with an audience, to be, how did you evolve into your beingness so that people can feel maybe they have a message, they have a heart, but they're not that comfortable on stage yet. They're not that comfortable in their skin. They can't connect to the audience where you have these amazing pauses and you go high and then you go low. You're a really great speaker. So how do you do that?
Thank
How,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. The first time I ever spoke to a room, I think it was about 100 people. And I literally, Amanda, I kid you not, I was sweating. Like I had little armpit stains on the dress I had on. My hands were clammy. I was so nervous because I wanted to be so perfect on stage. I was overly prepared, right? I am that person. I want to do everything to perfection. I'm a recovering perfectionist, I have to
Okay.
say. And so it was funny to me because, well, not funny, I'm so grateful. Jan Zans, I don't know if he's ever going to see this, but Jan Zans, he was a transformational teacher. He's a coach, and we were speaking in the same place. And I was like, he's like, how are you feeling? He probably could see. I probably look like a beaten animal, just shaking, but like, I'm still here. Just love me. And
Oh,
Jan came to me and he said, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm good, but I'm so nervous. I just want to do this right, because we just want to do this right. We just want to impact people. And he said, Sarah, if you make it about you, there's place for judgment. If you
mm,
make it about, if you make it about the message, it's about the message.
mhm.
And so in that moment, I feel like as far as speaking goes, it's about the message. As far as speaking goes, if I can passionately relay a message that I know will change your life, it's not about me. It's about, this is what I've
Yes.
done. And I'm also not trying to relate to every single person in the
Mm,
room anymore.
that's
I
good.
know who's there to hear me, and whoever isn't. Like I said, when I go speak on a stage, if I could just change one person's life, just one,
That
all I
is
need is one,
huge.
you know?
So what is your heart like? Who is your person that you really want to help?
Yeah, so my
Connect
person
with.
are the people that have Googled their lives away. They've gone to YouTube University. They've read the books. They've gone to the seminars. They've joined the inner circles. They're in the masterminds. They've done all of it. You see them at every single event, but nothing has changed in their life. Why? Because of the way that they identify with themselves. And so one of the things that I've learned inside of, years of learning and teaching and training, and then more learning and then teaching and then training and all of these different things is that you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes.
I love Dr. Joe
Yes.
Dispenza, and he has this analogy. I swear, I'm like, did I make this up or did he? I don't know. I've done so much, all of the things. But anyway, there's a thermostat analogy, right? And he says, if I were to change the thermostat to 74 degrees in this room, no matter how hot it is outside, the thermostat will make sure that cool air pumps to keep the room at 74 degrees. No matter how cold it is outside, the thermostat will make sure that warm air is pumped to keep that room at 74 degrees. Now, it's automatic. It will automatically regulate to the degree that you're set. So in the
Right.
same way, our identity with self will work the exact same. If we are set to a degree of no one's really going to listen to me, if we are set to the degree of I don't know if what I have to say matters, if we are set to the degree of they're a far better speaker than me, they've been doing it, you're literally, you will self-sabotage back down to
Yes.
the level that you believe that you deserve. However, we will also make sure to overexert so that we don't go too much lower than that degree that we have set. And so
Mhm.
I've really just learned that it's not about me, it's about the message. And I've really just have taken on that the relationship that I have with self is the most important. And those are the people that I serve because I understand what it feels to be there. I was
Mm.
that girl with sweaty palms and sweaty armpits,
Yes.
was that girl saying, I just want to be perfect. I just want to do it right. I was
Mhm.
that girl trying to make sure that I had every single, I used to go on stage with cue cards every time.
Yes. Right.
Like I
Yes.
now it's not about that. So those are the people that I serve, the people
Mhm.
that are ready to get out of their own way mentally and emotionally on a subconscious level. So then they can put the things that they've actually learned into action, which comes back to what is the identity you have with yourself? How is
Mhm.
that degree set?
That's so good. I love what you're saying is I don't try to connect. There's 30,000, you know who your people are, and that it's about that connection, which is that currency. That is amazing. I think everyone needed to hear that. You're not there to please everyone and be the puppet on the stage. You're there
Mm.
really to connect to your people. And so how did you overcome being the girl, besides, focusing on connection and really getting the message out? How did you become that to where you are now? Because now, I mean, I've seen your podcast. You have a podcast with Shaq. You have all
Yeah.
these higher level celebrity people. How did you how did you go from that to that?
Um, so there is what is it called? Your Wish is Your Command on
Uh-huh.
YouTube, right? I believe it's 14 hours of you just you listen to these things. And one of the things that he talks about, and Tony Robbins talks about, so many,
Is
everybody
it
is kind of, pardon
Neville,
me.
is it Neville?
No,
Or
Neville Goddard, is that who you're
Neville
spelling?
Goddard, is that it?
No, I believe it's Brian Tracy.
Okay. Okay.
And we can find it while we're doing you're on YouTube. Just search "Your Wish is
Yeah.
Your Command," and it's literally changed my life because it's so simple when you start thinking about conscious competence, right? There's when you are consciously competent, when you are subconsciously competent, and he has these four
Mhm.
quadrants of the way that we are. One of the best ways to be confident in anything is to be good at it. And the
Mhm.
only way to be good at it is to do it, which means we're going to fail.
Yeah.
I'm not connected to, I think it's so important for us as speakers to make sure to stay out of our own way as far as like, oh, I should have said it this way. Oh, I could have said it that way. It comes from judgment, right? So we
Mm.
have to stop judging the way that we show up and just be. I know the message. I know the information. I know what I'm sharing. And who better to share this message than me? And sometimes you've got to talk to yourself that way. Like I am
Yes.
becoming the person who pardon me.
Yes.
And I'm one of the things that I took away a long time ago is, sometimes when we are these quote unquote small speakers, we haven't had the opportunity to work with all of the biggest people in the world or whatever that looks like. One of the things that I realize is, instead of saying I am big goal, right? You have to reverse engineer and come back to base one, because in life and in business and in love, we do not attract what we talk about or think about. We attract what we feel strongest about.
Yes.
There are so many of us that are focused on feeling lack, feeling incapable, feeling fear, feeling doubt. And so that's the story that we continue to perpetuate. And so for me, instead of saying I am big goal, I think back, Amanda, to when I was going to these seminars and people were like, say you're a six-figure earner. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a six-figure earner, but I wouldn't believe it. Like, I was struggling to put gas in my car, at that
Right.
time. So I'm actually pushing away that thing that I want, because when I say it, it's like, but I don't actually believe that. That's when that little
Mhm.
devil comes on our shoulder. You can't really do that. Your rent is late every single month. You're struggling to put food in your fridge. You're choosing between food in your fridge and gas in your car. Your car squeaks on every block. That imposter syndrome starts to come up.
Mhm.
And now I start feeling those things. And so I'm attracting on that frequency. So
Yes.
I can reverse engineer. Okay, I like using numbers because it's easy. $100,000 is only $333 a month, which is only $277 a day. How many
Yes.
people do you have to consistently expose your products to consistently make $277 a day? How many sales does it take to make $277 a day, right? And when you know your ratios and you do that work, what starts to happen is, okay, instead of saying, I am the big goal, it becomes,
Mhm.
I am becoming the kind of person who. And so what that
Mhm.
looks like is, I am becoming the kind of person who can expose my product or service today to X amount of people consistently. I am becoming the kind of person who is not going to be turned away by rejection. In fact, my follow-up game is going to be strong. I am becoming the kind of person who will
Yes.
keep promises to themselves. And what starts to
Yes.
happen is, when you reverse engineer and you get into
Mhm.
aligned action, oh my goodness, $277 comes like this. Then it's like, oh,
Right.
if I could do it one day, I could do it two. If I could do it
Yep.
two, I could do it three. If I could do it three, I could do it five. If I could do it five, I could do it seven. If I could do it seven, I could do it 10. And next thing you know, you look
Yes.
up and it's like, wow, not only am
Yeah.
I afraid to talk about 100,000, now it's happened. I'm here. What else is there? Right? How could we make this any
Yes.
better? And so
Great.
for
So
me,
good.
yeah, it really comes down into, how are you talking to yourself? How are you
Mhm.
affirming, and do you feel good about what you're saying? And then actually the practice of doing it. Don't
Mhm.
compare your chapter 1, 2, or 3 to my chapter 30, 50,
Right.
100, right? So we've got to stop disqualifying ourselves. That is why, Amanda, I'm so passionate about who we're
Mhm.
being and not just what we're
Yes.
doing.
So good. Oh, that just takes a lot of weight off people. It's like, just reduce, I call it reduce it to the ridiculous. And you're
Yeah.
like, hey, and then if I could do it one day, I could do it 2 days. Like, make it simple in this moment, and then change your affirmation to I am
Yes.
becoming the person who can do this. And then
Yes.
here's the thing, a lot of high achievers watch this podcast. And I would guess that you are a high achiever,
Yeah,
even though
yeah.
you are. I mean, clearly you are, because of the results and the fruit you live. What happens if you have a goal and yet you're not there yet? How do you, and I know that's kind of what you just said, but it's like, you can do it, but that we were talking about it before we hit recording. It's like that impatience factor of it's not quite here yet, but you can taste it, you can feel it, and you're just in that waiting zone. How have
Mhm.
you handled that?
I recklessly trust the unfolding of my life. I
Mhm.
have released, because that comes from judgment, right? If you haven't reached it yet, and also for me, this is my practice. I'm like, I can't tell God what to do.
Right.
There's no way that it's never on my time. I tell God my plans and God laughs every single time, cooking
Right.
in a hurry, like, oh, this is what you thought. The truth is, everything comes at its perfect time. And some of us are asking for blessings that we're not even really ready to carry yet. Right. So if it hasn't come, it's because there's still a level of evolution. There's still a level of conditioning that we have to do first
Mhm.
before we can like, it's easy to get it. It's much more challenging to sustain it and to grow it and to scale it.
Right.
Right. So for me, I feel like when I am in that space of, okay, here we go, God. Like I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. If it hasn't come yet, it's because I'm not really, I'm ready, but I'm not prepared.
Hmm.
You see what I mean? Like I'm ready. Like I'll go, I
Yes.
can run, I'll do the jumps, I'll do the calls, I'll do the talks, but I haven't been in the gym preparing to do the run. So when they say that it's time to run the marathon, I can only make it 3 miles, right? I can only make it 20
Yes.
miles. I can't, I'm not conditioned. I'm not prepared for
Yes.
it, and so I do
Yes.
my best to stay prepared. I do my best to stay
Hmm.
ready. And
Hmm.
I just trust the unfolding. And of course, it gets frustrating because we're human and it's like, I want this right now. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And when that happens, I focus on getting in a peak state. I do this thing every morning when I wake up. I open
Hmm.
my eyes. I'm like, oh, it's a new day. Some days I'm like, oh, it's a new day and I'm sleepy, but close your eyes and let's get to it. So I
Yes.
close my eyes and I imagine like a sonic ring starting at the top of my head
Ooh,
and I
cool.
surround my entire body. I take deep breaths in, deep breaths out around my whole body, my shoulders, my chest, my torso, my hips, my thighs. And I'm sending love and prosperity and joy and favor and so I
Mm.
healing and protection. And then I close the
Yes.
bubble around my feet. And then I do the same thing for my loved ones. And then
Cool.
immediately I get up, I go make my energy tea. I come back, I start journaling. I'm so blessed, happy, and grateful now. And I write the future as it is now. As soon as
Hmm.
I've done that, I go to the gym. When I come back from the gym, I take a shower. I'm listening to personal gospel music while I'm in the shower,
Hmm.
while I'm getting ready. I'm listening to a book. And so by the time my morning regimen, which is if you include the gym, it's like a good hour and a half. By the
Hmm.
time my morning regimen is done, I feel so prepared for my day.
Yes.
I feel so in purpose, on purpose, and so on the frequency of attract that
Hmm.
it's really hard to knock me off my game at that point.
Yes. 100. Yes. Morning routine is everything. And
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you, how else do you prepare throughout the day? So what is it? So that was my question. You answered it, but what then happens to you the rest of the day? Like how are you staying in that peak state and preparing? And
Oh my
I
goodness.
will, I'm
Mhm.
going to just mention one thing that I did. I ran 8 miles once in a race in Hawaii, and it
Wow.
was so hard.
Yeah.
And I was planning to do a half a marathon anyway. But to your point, it's like you have to train every day. You can't just go and do a marathon. You have to prepare every day and
Yeah.
run massive miles.
Right.
Yeah.
It actually makes me laugh. Like, I feel like if someone were to say, I will give you $500 million right now to finish a marathon in 4 hours, could you do it?
Oh,
No, because we're not prepared. We're ready. Like,
no.
yeah, I'm ready to try, but we're
Yeah.
not prepared to complete. Right.
The pain is real. There was like
Yeah.
95-year-old men passing me, and they were just like all like injured. And I'm like, how do you do this? Do you just push through the pain? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good. Okay, back to your story. So about preparing. How do you stay
Mhm.
in that peak state all day?
All day music I listen to. I also believe in naps. I honor my body
Mhm.
very much. So if I need a quick 25-minute power nap, I will absolutely do
Yes.
that. I live by my calendar. So if it's not on my calendar, it won't happen. So I
Okay.
feel good. I know exactly what I'm going to get into, but I would say music. Music is my thing. I love movie score music.
Mhm.
I love classical Baroque music. And they say scientifically that Baroque music is said to do things inside of your brain that make you more attentive. It makes it easier to learn. It makes you more receptive, all of these different
Mhm.
things. And then also sometimes just getting around people. Most recently, because I'm naturally such a homebody, I love
Mhm.
being home. Unless I'm at an event. Outside of like events and things that I know are on my calendar, I don't do a lot. And so I'm around like my tribe. And so
Mhm.
there's nothing better than being able to if I am feeling a type of way, I do have mentors. I am able to, give a quick call to a global icon and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he's going to give me
Mhm.
back what he feels or what he deems or whatever that is. And I do have people that I place myself around. I try to be the smallest fry in every room. So
Mhm.
I'm just intentional about being inspired by the people that I'm around, where I would feel weird not being in peak state. Like if I was low
Right.
vibrational and negative, my friends would be like, you can't sit with us. Like you gotta go
Right.
away. Like this is energy is contagious, right? There's such thing as energy
Yes.
contagion. So we really want to make sure that we aren't infecting people with what they don't want, because then they arm's length you, and now the people you want to be around, you can't get around because they can't trust you with your energy.
That's so good. How did you curate and find these friends?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, God, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it is just relationship based. One of
Mhm.
the things that I pride myself on is value. I am not a taker whatsoever. I am always looking for how can I add value to you? And I'm constantly in friendships, in relationships. I'm looking for the need. So if I see you like are rolling your neck, it's like, well, I have a masseuse. When can she come by? Like what is the
Yes.
time? She's gonna come and visit you. If I know that I
Mhm.
just I send things. I'm immediately looking for how can I add value. I
So you'll
am who
send a gift. You'll send a gift
Oh, I send
or
gifts. I'm also who I am naturally too. Like you
yeah.
don't have to guess with me.
Mhm.
Another thing is I'm not a big, a lot of the friends that I think you're referring to, very like ultra affluent people don't love like the whole social media, put me on the page type of thing. So
Yeah.
it's very much more private and exclusive.
Uh-huh.
And I'm naturally a very private and exclusive kind, like not exclusive, but I'm a very private person by nature. So, you're not going to see a bunch of people on my story. It's like, yeah, we're all hanging out. Yeah, but I don't have to put it on social media because
Right.
why? Like what am I
Yes.
actually posting this for? Um, and
Mhm.
so that's just important. And for me, inside of the groups that I'm in. And then I also just think that like my energy, I think that your
Yeah.
vibe attracts your tribe at the end of the
Yes.
day. And I think as long as I can focus on a servant, going back to being a server, right? Having that servant mentality, what can I do to support
Mhm.
you? I say that to my friends. I say it to my family. I say it to my colleagues. I say it to is there anything I can do to support you right now? How can I show up
That's
for you right now? What do you need right now? Oddly enough, most of them always say, I don't need anything. So it's easy to just find the little things,
Mhm.
it's really easy.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
That's so cool. So how did you shift your mentality from, you said you grew up loved, but more poor to
Yeah.
abundant? How did you make that transition? Like, did you have to go through a dark, like really letting go of that old identity and old you in order to become?
Yes, I think for sure. I think I've always known in my heart that I wasn't supposed to live a life of lack. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like any of us are supposed to live a life of lack. And it goes back to those statistics of like 67% of people don't think anyone would mind if they died. Two out of three people have, statistically speaking, have low self-esteem. So people are questioning themselves. They're questioning what's capable for them. They're questioning their own potential. They're questioning their purpose. They're questioning all of these things. But the truth is, the issue is not strategy for most, like over 90% of people. The issue is not strategy. The issue is worthiness. And so
Mhm.
over a decade ago, I got really passionate about what matters most to me. And that was working on myself harder than I do anything else. Like Jim Rohn says, it was really focusing on, if all of the things were taken off of me, away from me, the cars, the jewelry, the bags, the shoes, like the travel, the experiences, I'm still me at the end of the day. But I
Mhm.
will say, Amanda, there was a time, I've been engaged twice. So for those of you that don't know, there's hope. Okay. I'm not married
Yeah.
now. But it
No.
like, we're not defined by our failures, but I was trapped inside of the perception box. Now it's more important for me to be inside of the reality box, right? Because the
Mhm.
perception of my second ex-fiance and I, we were every hashtag, in comparison truly is the thief of joy. We were relationship goals. We were Black excellence. We were
Wow.
power couple. We were literally all of the hashtags that people talk about relations, people would look up to, but in reality, it was extremely toxic. And it's crazy to me how we allow the perception, the cages that we place in our minds to keep us right there in that point. And so I think that I've had a lot of these awakenings where it's like, Sarah, you deserve better. Don't you ever forget for a
Yes.
second, that this is not it. And if you're dimming your light, because there are so many of us, especially women, where platonically or romantically, we will surrender our destinies, loving and listening to the wrong people. I personally never would
Yeah.
have got into any of this if I was listening to my superhero, who's my mom. You know, my mom was like, baby, get a real job. And I was like, no,
Wow.
I'm doing this, you know, but
Yes.
can you send me $20? Because I need to put
Yeah.
gas in my car, you know, like, but I was like, no, like, I'm not giving up on this. And so,
Mhm.
number one, you have to believe in yourself and curate that. And I believe belief is an action word. And I always break it down into 5 simple steps. But I also I knew, like, it's a all of us are chosen, but only few choose to acknowledge it. I refuse to believe in anything other than abundance. So I think that through my failures, my biggest failures, it's been like, okay, but I'm still worthy. You know, all of the things
Yes.
are great, but I'm still worthy. And if those of you that are listening or watching this, if you're like, I don't feel worthy, I am becoming the kind of person who is in
Mhm.
alignment with the woman that I'm becoming. I am becoming the kind of person who, because one of the best and easiest ways to build confidence, and I know you know this, Amanda, is being in integrity with yourself.
Yes.
When you keep promises to yourself, when you are impeccable with your word, when you
Mhm.
really show up consistently as that person, God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
will open up the ocean for you to,
Mm.
like, literally part the ocean for you to cross into who it is that you're becoming, and stop asking the question of how, because how is not up to us. So
Mm.
yeah, I definitely struggled with the being broke thing, but I never was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, when people are
Right.
like, just the way life is. No, I always used to say, you know, oftentimes we'll say, well, maybe this is God saying it's just not for us. Maybe this is
Right.
God saying you shouldn't try this. No, maybe this is God saying, how bad do you really want it?
Right.
You know?
Persistence. And your
Mhm.
vision really pulled you forward. You knew inside that you were meant for greatness, that you were meant to do something more.
Mhm. And we all are.
Mhm.
It's just making the choice to acknowledge that, because I'm not more worthy of success or happiness, or, and I'm not, no, none of us, we're all on the same playing field. It's just I
Mhm.
am so unwavering and rooted, grounded, and anchored to what I know God is calling me to, you know, and I
Yeah.
just don't believe that it's a space of lack. And when I get there, it's like I feel icky, and then I'm out of
Oh.
integrity with self, and then I start doing that over analytical thing where I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
well, why didn't I do this? Why? Well, if I just stay in integrity, then
Mhm.
it's just a different level of being, you know?
So good. So what is your future? Like, where do you see yourself going? Because you're amazing. I think you like sky's the limit. I can see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm currently working on a patent. So soon I will be an inventor, and I'm really excited about that. It's very challenging to patent anything inside of the beauty industry.
Hmm.
But I don't even want to sell it. I want to license it. And that is my $1 billion exit strategy. And
Ooh.
I'm just really excited to be where my feet are. I'm still excited to give back and speak and do transformational work. And I'm excited to have a compound in the middle of nowhere,
Uh-huh.
with, you know, it's self-sustaining land. And I want to walk the land where my parents are going to have I'm going to have houses on my compound, and we could drive our golf
Yes.
carts to each other and go to the
Mhm.
garden and eat cucumbers while they're like from the dirt, you know, with the kid. Like, I
Yes.
need to wash this off. I'm going to pick the blueberries and the
Mhm.
mangoes and all of these different things.
Yes.
And I'm excited about, you know, being, because presence is truly such a gift. And I
Mhm.
realized that I used to be so hungry for like achievement, 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 achievement. I'm much more inside of love and connection now.
Mhm.
So that's the ultimate goal, just to be where my feet are, to be happy doing it, to give back, to make a contribution, to bless and spoil my family and my loved ones, to have a passionate, happy, loving relationship, or not, whatever God has in store. I'm open.
Mhm.
But I want to have the ability to be around the people that I genuinely love. That's what the future
Mhm.
looks like for me. It's simple, to be honest.
So beautiful. Yeah, it's like a returning back to what the essence of what life is really about.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
already accomplished a lot of things. Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah. I'm
I
excited
was
about it.
I was seeing you like, on TV or books or big stages, but it's almost like you've tasted a lot of that.
I have tasted a lot of that. Not to say
Mhm.
that I won't still do those things. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's like the extra. Again, I'm not the doing person. I'm the being person. Well,
Yes.
who do I be? Like that is what's important to me. And what's important to me are my loved ones, my friends, my family. Now we're gonna have all the things. Don't get me wrong. I didn't say I'm gonna
Yeah.
be, in a 200 square foot home, struggling. Like I'm
Right.
very clear. I love beautiful, lavish things. However, I just want to do it in a way where it's like the tribe is all there and
Mhm.
still, yes, speaking. And I see humanitarian events and I see
Mhm.
giving. I've always dreamt about giving cars away. I've always
Mhm.
dreamt about having programs for foster girls. There's a
Yes.
lot of different things that I know that I'm going to do. There's this thing that I'm connected with called Project Prom, and Project Prom is where,
Oh,
yeah, where a lot of different companies and people come together and we donate prom dresses and earrings and we do makeup and we do hair and they get shoes, and it's for
mhm.
women in foster care that have never really had the opportunity to feel beautiful on their prom night, so
Yes.
it's really interesting, and each person is partnered with like a big sister, and then you go around
Mhm.
and you try things. Like I love doing those things,
Mhm.
so I just love a life of giving. That's me. I just want to just keep giving. That's me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, and really quick about the image, because you have such a great image. So, how do you, for speakers, what are some of your tips and tricks on image for and styling for being on stage?
I would say most certainly, first of all, who is your audience? That is the most important part, because again, remember, you're speaking to your tribe. You are dressing inside of your vibe. And I
Mhm.
feel like there are people that I've seen go on stage that are almost like scantily clad. And I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
could never, and then I
Right.
see people that are in like hoodies and jeans, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't do that either. So
Right.
you really got to just own who it is that you're going to show up as. And I would say one of the things, I get distracted when people do a lot of pacing, just
Yes.
standing and owning your space. And one
Yes.
of the things that I love about speaking and that I've really learned to do is I have one big idea, and it was the cue cards. I learned this through failure, right? Me trying to read my cue cards, and I have terrible eyes. I don't ever wear my glasses. I have
Mhm.
astigmatism, so I can't even wear
Oh,
contacts.
yeah.
Oh goodness, it is a struggle out here. Like I have contacts, but they're very uncomfortable. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna wear my glasses. Then I don't wear
Yes.
my glasses because then I'm like,
Okay.
the reflection of the light. Anyway, I say that to say the little tiny writing on cue cards while you're on stage, no one has time to pause and read your
Yeah,
cue
you can't
card.
read it.
There's no way. So
Yeah.
what I've done is I will literally have, I'm like, let's say I have a cue card, right? Well, actually, you're a blank piece of paper, but let's say that I have, oh, none of these are blank. Okay, well, great. Let's say I have a big piece of paper like this, right? Cue card
Yeah.
that I have on stage. If this were
Yeah.
my cue card, it'd be like title on the top, 2 bullet points,
That's
story,
it.
boom. And then under story, it's going to talk about, like, it'll literally say story. Underneath story, it'll say um bus ride. It'll say, or robbed at bus stop. It'll say gas. It'll say success. Now, I know that that means my car, I used to have a car that would squeak on every block, right? It was like,
Mhm.
"Uh, uh."
Yeah.
So I hated that car so much. And I would curse it. It had a gas gauge that pointed downward. And so inside of me having this squeaking car, my car, while I was driving, yes, but don't ask me any questions, it crashed itself while I was driving on the freeway because the shocks weren't connected and it used to do this weird topply thing,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
So my car crashed itself and I had a choice. My mentor was in Torrance, California. I currently lived in Hollywood, California. It's a 45-minute drive each way with no traffic. There's never no traffic. And I was struggling to put gas in my car. So while I was driving and my car crashed itself, so you got to be careful what you curse in your life because God will
Right.
take it away, right? I had
True.
an option. I could say, well, maybe this is God saying, why is this happening to me? No, this is God saying, how bad do you really want it? Right? Powerful
Mhm.
people ask powerful questions. Success does not come to you. You have to go to it. So I started taking 2 buses and a train each way, 2.5 hours one way, 3 hours ride back just to get to my mentor. Just to get to my mentor. Now, in that little story, which I honestly would usually give a little more like oohs, ahs, pauses,
Yeah.
cadence, but in that story, that was a bus stop. That was
Mm.
that was and I talk about how I got robbed at the bus stop because I'm so
Oh
green as
gosh.
a Canadian. I went to like a security thing and this big man came up and stole all my stuff. And anyway, not it's not so I tell this whole story, but inside
Yeah.
of those 3 bullet points, I know the stories. For
Right.
speakers, one of the most powerful ways to speak is to make a point, tell a story, tell a
Mm,
fact or a historical experience, and then tell your point again, and it lands with people differently. So for me, if my point is that success does not come to you, you have to go to it. Success
mm,
is not an accident, it's a choice, right? So I'm letting you know all of these adversities that are going to come up, they're going to come up. Yes, but success is not an accident, it's a choice. Choose your hard. It's hard to be an
mhm.
entrepreneur. It's hard to be broke. It's hard
Right.
to, it's all hard. Choose your hard,
Choose
it's
your,
hard to be a parent. It's hard not to be a parent. It just is what it is. It's all hard. So, I would say own your space. I would say bullet point if you need to bullet point. Um, and I would also say, take them, it's like a song where we have highs, we have lows. There are times when it's time to really let a point land. So we pause. And sometimes our pauses feel like an eternity. I know you know this, Amanda. It's like,
yes.
and in your mind, it's like, just say something, just say something, just say something, just say something. And in my mind, what I've started doing is I say 3, 2, 1, and then I
Mm,
start on my next point.
that's
What is
good.
it? Right. And so those are just some of the things that I do. And I also live what I talk about, which
Mhm,
makes it really easy to speak with conviction. I
mhm,
can I can passionately speak about overcoming struggle. I can passionately speak about experiencing success. I can passionately speak about really becoming. I can passionately speak about how I've failed 10,000 times, but that's also why I succeed. I can
mhm.
passionately speak about the spectrum of all the things inside of life with no shame and no judgment because our
Mhm.
circumstance and our situation is not who we are. And what we do is not who we be, right? We're
Right.
duped from our childhood. We're always asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What, or no, what do
Right.
you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? Okay, well, do is connected to achievement, whereas who you are is connected to fulfillment,
Mhm.
And I feel like
Yeah.
fulfillment often also has the achievement.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So good. Such
Yeah.
a joy connecting with you today. I know everyone listening is just getting all these gems and so great. And I think they'll go back and listen to it a few times. So, how can we connect with you? I know you have an event coming up in September. I know you have a podcast. So, tell us how we can keep the conversation going.
Yes. Okay. So I do have an event. It's called Get Your Shift Together.
Oh,
It's
nice.
actually going over exactly what I was talking about for people that feel stuck in their own way. It is a high ticket event. There's no sales, and people are going to think it's crazy. There's no sales at the event. Okay. There's nothing. This is a
Mhm.
come get the work. It's more of an intensive in-person workshop event.
Okay.
There's a lot of hands-on implementation in real-time implementation. And we are going to have a lot of fun. So we'll be breaking down those subconscious barriers and building it back up to set a new degree on our thermostat. And then I also have powerhouses inside of their lane. So for the people that are excited, okay, like, well, now that I'm me and I'm feeling better and I'm renewed and I'm refreshed, where do I go from here? I have a lot of really cool special guests coming. I have some goats in their industry, whether you're excited about a salon suite business or micro home development, or there's just so much branding, everybody's a multimillionaire and all of these different things.
Mhm.
So it's going to be really incredible inside of the success. But for me, it's not just about monetary success. It's, are you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, and energetically happy with where you are? So that's happening September 16th and 17th. You can find that at getyourshifttogether.info. It's going to be
Is it
amazing. Uh-huh.
get your shift together.info?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, get your shift together. And then what city is that in?
Atlanta.
Okay. Get your shift together.
Uh-huh.
Okay, dot info. Okay,
Info.
perfect.
Yeah. And then Instagram, I'm Ms. Sarah Fontenot on all platforms. You can find me there. And I do have a new solo podcast. So I'm really excited about this because this one, I don't know if you know, Amanda, but it just launched last Wednesday. So my own solo pod. I'm really excited. We
Yes.
already have a ton of episodes in the can. I'm already getting a lot of really cool guests. I'm so grateful. Shaquille, this is the third podcast that he's come to do for me. So I'm just so grateful, So that's really awesome. And it's called It's Giving. So it's giving all the things. It's giving love, life, relationships, it's giving boundaries, it's giving entertainment, it's giving literally all of the things. There's going to be some toxicity, but overcoming it, because the intention of this podcast is really and truly healing, while also having some fun with a lot of my really cool friends. So
Right
it's going to
on.
be, yeah.
We could find that on any podcast
All the
space.
things,
It's
Spotify,
giving.
Apple Music, Amazon, Pandora, you name it, we've got it. And then on Instagram, it's Giving Podcast. And it's crazy. I'm really grateful, I have to say, because, we're 4 days old. It's maybe 5 days. We launched last Wednesday. So however old that is. We have almost 800 followers on Instagram. And well, I'm like, it feels very small to me. I keep just telling myself, do not despise small beginnings. Like we were talking about patience.
Yes.
I feel like we should already have thousands of followers already. But anyway, I'm grateful because we're getting thousands of views on our videos already. And there's like 9, so
Wow.
I know what we're talking about is important. Some of it is entertaining. Some of it is shifting. There's just a lot of really cool stuff that's coming. So I'm pretty excited about the new podcast. I'm really excited about this event. It's going to be life transformational. And then, yeah.
Good times. All right. Well, thank you so much. You guys be sure to follow her, check out her podcast, and go to her event, getyourshifttogether.info. Thank you, Miss Sarah.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Yes, I appreciate you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.